everybody, welcome back to the channel. So within today's video, we are going to be talking about the match between Barcelona and Celta Vigo. Barcelona is going to be hosting Celta at the Camp Nou. Hopefully, Barcelona can extend the lead against Real Madrid, and hopefully Real Madrid do drop points, whether they tie or whether they lose. Barcelona right now within La Liga's table, we are in first place, but mainly because of goal difference. So there are good sensations, but let me be very honest. Ever since we did lose against Inter Milan 1-0, I know that many have been very reactionary. Many were questioning, okay, should we switch our starting 11? Do we need to switch some players? Do we need to have different tactics? Because again, Barcelona are in third place within the group stages. Maybe this is an indicator that maybe Barcelona are not in the correct path, but at the same time, we are in first place within La Liga. So going into this game against Celta, I know that many are going to be nervous when it comes to the Barcelona fans because we want to be in first place in everything. And the next step we have to do and complete in order to do so is to beat Celta Vigo. So to be more specific on what we are going to be doing within today's video, is talk about one thing that we do want to see when we do face Celta and two things that we are expected to see when we do face Celta on Sunday night. So it is going to be 3 total points on how we are going to be approaching Celta de Vigo and if we could approach them convincingly. And to set the stage on this whole thing, I'm going to bring out one report that Fernando Polo did bring out a couple of hours ago, and this is what he did say, and I quote, "Xavi is yet to discuss the details of the defeat against Inter Milan with the squad. It is expected to happen today. The coach already knows what's missing. We missed the pace that the UCL does require." This is what Xavi did say in the post-match press conference, which is why he does assume that this is something that Xavi Hernandez is going to be speaking to the players in today's training session. So if the pace is truly the problem for FC Barcelona, we are expected to see Barcelona start to practice what they are not so good at going up against Celta, so they can go into that match against Inter Milan with rhythm. And this is what's going to lead us to the first point. Point number 1. If the pace was truly one of the biggest factors on why we could not bring success to Inter Milan, most likely we could see Frenkie de Jong within the squad, because if we want to see more pace within the midfield, Frenkie de Jong is that player. Now look, I'm very well aware that Frenkie de Jong right now is not destined to play against Celta, mainly because he is going through some injury issues, but I would not be surprised if Frenkie does actually end up being within the squad, mainly because we did see him train with the first team full time and he was doing okay, so I'm not going to be ruling it off. And I think that Xavi Hernandez does want to see Frenkie de Jong within the squad list because of what they are trying to do. And so going back to that match against Inter Milan, if there was one thing that we were missing within that midfield, it was Frenkie de Jong. We really did need that pace. We needed those runs, those carries into the final third. This is what Xavi does mean when it comes to lacking the pace in some areas of the pitch. Like for example, you look at the role that Pedri had going up against Inter Milan. Frenkie de Jong should have been there, but no, Xavi Hernandez says, okay, look, because we're not going to be having Frenkie, because we need someone who is a ball carrier, we're going to place Pedri within that position, and Pedri is going to have to do what Frenkie de Jong does on the pitch and what Xavi does want, which is why we did see Pedri sit very deep against Inter Milan and why we saw him carry the ball so many times, take down about 3 to 4 players, only for him to get into the final third. And even though Pedri was doing okay, like he was doing solid, Frenkie blossoms and prospers in situations and environments like this. The ideal scenario when it comes to plays like this would be for Frenkie to carry the ball from deep areas, lay it towards Pedri, and for Pedri, who should have been one of the most advanced midfielders, to make that final pass, whether it's to Lewandowski or maybe to Ansu Fati or Rafinha. So if you have Pedri in positions like that, Frenkie being in those deep positions also, you would put both players in their best environments and where they much rather prefer to be at. Here's another example. You can see that Pedri was acting almost as a left center back, which is not his natural position. He probably felt very uncomfortable on what he was doing, and even though again he did okay, this is Frenkie's role. Like these are moments where Frenkie should be receiving the ball right where Pedri's at, and for him to carry the ball into the final third. And this is again what Xavi does mean by having more pace, and hopefully we can see Frenkie de Jong face Celta and do things like this, so we can have an idea on how we're going to be carrying this type of game plan into Inter Milan. So if you have Frenkie back into the midfield, you have him sit deep, you have Pedri higher up the pitch, you push him higher in more advanced positions, have him be next to someone like Lewandowski and to connect with Lewandowski, score goals, goals, bring assists, then you really do have something. We have to remember, what was one of the first few things that we were talking about when we saw Lewandowski, Pedri, Xavi, and all of these players together for the first time? One of the duos that many of us were talking about was between Pedri and Lewandowski. That is because in the beginning, we saw Pedri in a much more advanced position, and we want to see that again. But the only way we could see that again is by having someone like Frenkie on the pitch, providing that required pace in deep areas. And so now moving on towards the next 2 points, which is what we are expected to see, right? We talked about what we want to see, which is Frenkie, because we know that that is going to give so much value to FC Barcelona, but what are we expected to see? Point number 2, going back to what that report did say, if that whole idea is about having more pace within this Barcelona team, most likely we are expected to see Xavi Hernandez place Alejandro Balde and Ansu Fati start in the starting 11. I think that many of us can agree that when Barcelona do have Alejandro Balde and Ansu Fati on the left flanks, Barcelona is just simply much better. We are much more effective on the left flank. And if we assess how Celta does concede their goals, most of their goals that they concede come through the right side, right? Celta's right side. All those through balls and all those long balls that Celta have to face, they easily go through Edu and Mayo, who is one of the fullbacks and one of the center backs for Celta. Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Valencia, who have all beaten Celta, have found so much success on that. So it should be very exciting to see what Ansu and Balde could do, because again, for 2 things, they both have the pace, which is what Xavi does want, and point number 2, Ansu and Balde can easily attack Celta's right side, and we can find more goal scoring opportunities at the Camp Nou. I really do not want to see Marcos Alonso nor Rafinha on that left flank, because one looks very lost and the other one like shifts first gear when they do get into the attacking phase, and we do not really need that. And so now moving on towards the last final point on what we are expected to see, and we are expected to see Chadi Riyad make his debut for FC Barcelona, because if we're not going to be having Jules Koundé, Ronald Araujo, and also Christensen, one of the center backs that is planned on being introduced on that pitch on Sunday night, it is going to be Chadi. He did train with the first team full time, not part time but full time, and Xavi has also added great emphasis on assessing and analyzing what this center back could bring. Now, if you guys do not know who Chadi is a left-footed center back. He mainly does play on the left side of the center back pairing, and he is also very great on the ball. If he does end up playing, maybe in the last 15 to 20 minutes of the match, depending on how the game does go, we're probably going to be seeing Eric Garcia as the right center back and Chadi as the left center back. And hopefully he does well, because if we look at who he is and how he is physically, he is miles ahead in terms of where he should be at physically, meaning that once he does make this transition towards playing in first team football, he's not going to be having any trouble transitioning into first team football, because physically he's already ready. Now the question is going to be, can he play at the exact same rhythm of first team football? Because first team football is much faster, and especially within La Liga, this is something that we're going to have to wait and see on Sunday night if he does play. And he also had a great game against Inter Milan. He even scored a goal. So again, hopefully he does well, because this is how like young players are introduced into the first team, and especially in FC Barcelona, it is through injuries. Unfortunately, there have been many times where Barcelona have been going through dark moments, experiencing so many injuries, but only for a bright talent to pop up through those dark moments. We've seen that through Ansu, we have seen that through Xavi, Pedri, Ronald Araujo, and so many more. And hopefully Chadi could be that next one. I'm not saying that he's going to be the next Maldini or the next Puyol. Let's just hope that he does solid, he does okay, and then we build from there. So that is going to be wrapping up today's Barcelona daily news and pre-match tactical preview. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new here, welcome to the channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys in the next video.